song and some writings by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it's based upon a teaching from Padma Purana. So I'm just going to do a little gloss so that you know what we're missing. There's a verse in Padma Purana that describes six, the word is limbs or angas of surrender. It's also mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. The first two, they're easy. Things that are favorable for bhakti, you accept. Things that are unfavorable for bhakti, you leave them to the side. Accept things favorable, reject things unfavorable. Accept that Krishna is your protector. Vikshikshati vishvaso. Krishna will protect me. Krishna will maintain me. Well, Krishna's maintaining us anyways. And we give ourselves to him in service. Atma Nivedana, full self-surrender. So the principles of surrender are those six. And then there's, why should I do that? What's the impetus to go in that direction, to surrender to Krishna? And we've been speaking a little bit, kind of substantially, about humility. So there's a very nice an example of submission with humility is found in this verse from 11th canto, chapter 19. This is Krishna speaking to Uddhava. The scene is Dwarka. Uddhava spent more time with Krishna than Arjuna spent with Krishna. Because when Krishna left Vrindavan, he went to Mathura, and Uddhava was already in Mathura. And then from Mathura, that's the capital, from Mathura, Krishna went to Dwarka. Uddhava went with him to Dwarka. And then wherever Krishna was, Uddhava was. They were dear friends. Uddhava was very wise. Uddhava was a cousin, like Arjuna was a cousin. And Krishna took advice from Arjuna, from Uddhava. Different nice examples found in the Bhagavatam. They're very close. So close that Uddhava knew Krishna's feelings, his mood, what was going on inside, even when he didn't speak. He knew Krishna was going to depart this world. And so he came to Krishna, as we see in the painting, fell at his feet, literally, and pleaded with Krishna. He didn't plead with him, don't go. He said, please take me with you. When you go, take me with you. And there's a whole section, it's called Uddhava Gita, much like Bhagavad Gita. It's not as many chapters, but it's very confidential topics discussing about transcendental knowledge. Uddhava is asking very, very learned questions. Krishna is giving very wonderful answers. And here's a verse. You just look at the last line. Vacho bir. Vacha means to speak. Vacha. And Mahanubhava. There's Anubhava, there's Bhava, and there's Anubhava, and there's Maha Anubhava. Great transcendental ecstasy. So here's the translation of that verse. Oh, Almighty Lord, this is Arjuna to Krishna, Uddhava to Krishna. Please be merciful and uplift this hopeless living entity who has fallen into the dark hole of material existence, where the snake of time has bitten him. In spite of such abominable conditions, this poor living entity has tremendous desire to relish the most insignificant material happiness. Please save me, O Lord, my Lord, by pouring down the nectar of your instructions, which awaken one to spiritual freedom. So this is submission resting upon humility. So he's looking up to Krishna to pick him up. And many, many nice verses that are like this, but it's submission based on humility and of course, respect that Krishna has all that capacity to do all these nice things. And there's a different but similar statement made by Prahlad Maharaj, that little boy on the left with his hand folded, that's Prahlad. And the scene is Prahlad is standing before Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev just finished Hiranyakashipu, and he was roaring. And the demigods tried to calm him down. It was unsuccessful. He was still roaring. They sent Prahlad because he came because of you, so you can pacify him. And as soon as Prahlad came, he stopped roaring. And then Prahlad offered some nice prayers. And this is one of those. It's from 7th Canto, Chapter 9. There's the Sanskrit. Again, Bhuman, I'm looking at the last line. Bhuman Brahmani Vada Me Tava Dasya Yogam. Dasya, we know what that means. Servitorship, right? Dasya Yoga. The connecting with the Supreme through the medium of service. So he wants Lord Nrsingadev to enlighten him about how to become free from material existence. Oh, Great One, oh Supreme Lord, because of combination with pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Very practical. There's no other shelter. This place is not a suitable place for a gentleman, and it's full of turmoil. Therefore, the sensible thing is that I should take shelter of you. Please instruct me how to engage in your dasya yogam, the yoga of service to the Supreme. So there's two examples so far, where out of humility, or here in recognizing there's no true shelter here, please give me shelter and please give me instruction how to stay connected with you. And then there's another example. I didn't put the head banner here, but it's hearing from a devotee. This word satam, the first word of the verse. Satam. Satam, I'm getting the next word mixed up. Satam means one who has taken shelter of Sat. Like a transcendentalist. Sat means transcendental or eternal. Satam is such a person. And prasangam means having the association of, like what we're doing right now. prasanga, association of those who are saintly persons. This is a celebrated verse. You see the upstairs in the upper left corner, that's where the verse comes from. It's Kapila Dev, seated in that nice raised seat, having a discussion with his mother. Devahuti was his mother. And she knows that he's an avatar of Vishnu. She knows that. And he is. He's an avatar of Vishnu. So she wants teachings from her son, the avatar of Vishnu's son, how to get released from material existence. And she's making so. This chapter is called the Glories of Devotional Service, chapter 25. Again, it's a long section. It's like 8 chapters long. Kapila Dev's instructions to Devahuti. Here's the English translation. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. So it's describing sadhana bhakti to come to the stage, a mature stage of, from sadhana comes the goal of sadhana, the liberation stage, freed from material existence, and attraction fixed. These are stages of bhakti. Then real devotional and devotional service begins. Now, what does that mean? It means real devotion and devotional service is pure. And until one reaches that higher stage, there's always going to be some kind of a mix. Mix means we do something to get something. And in the liberated stage, you don't do something to get something. What do you do things for? You do things because, and goodness, they're to be done. Like you brush your teeth. Or, when the alarm goes off, you get up. Or you take a bath. Or, you do things. The things that you should do, you be respectful. And being disrespectful, that's not nice, so you don't be disrespectful. You honor the property of others. You don't steal. You honor that everything has its proper owner, and you honor the ownership. Don't steal. So there's do's and do nots. And you do the do's and you avoid the do nots, and that's mode of goodness. And living a virtuous life. But then there's beyond the virtuous life, that's the devotional life. Then you do something for one reason only, that's Krishna's to be pleased. So that is what this last line means. The practice stage is fine, but the mature stage is really what devotional service is. It's where there's no do something to get something plan. There's no fruitive activity involved. No speculative knowledge. It's pure. Now, the emphasis here, we'll go back to the other slide. Oh, this one. No. Yeah, satam prasangam. So an impetus for surrender is getting the association of a pure devotee. And that's how devotional service begins, and that's how devotional service matures. This is a nice photograph of a city in India along the bank of the Ganges known as Benares. Anyone been there? You've been there? Okay. And it's the place where Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami met, where they first met. And then later they met again in Jagannath Puri. So when they met in Benares, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave instructions to Sanatana Goswami about devotional service. And this is one of the verses. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha. Similar to Satam Prasangam, same message, similar root in the Sanskrit words. Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Prema, so the practice stage, sadhana, Sadhu Sangha begins it. In the mature stage, Krishna Prema stage, the same is required. Here's the translation. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is Sadhu Sangha, association with advanced devotees. Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, that's at the Prema stage, Krishna Prema, association with the devotees is still most essential. So the topic is impetus for surrender, and association with devotees is an impetus for surrender. And when you associate with devotees, something else happens. You come to know about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and activities. And that's a further impetus for surrender to Krishna. This is from that same section, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sanatana Goswami, being instructed in Benares. Lord Chaitanya says, whenever an experienced person, it's a nice devotee, develops real knowledge of Krishna and his transcendental qualities, he naturally gives up all other engagements and renders service to the Lord. Uddhava gives evidence concerning this. So there's the same painting of Uddhava at Krishna's feet. So that's one of the things he's known for, one of the greatest things he's known for. We're going to touch on some others this evening. The Uddhava Gita. His questions, Krishna's answers, very illuminating, very elevating, very, very wonderful section of the Bhagavatam. Later, Uddhava, when Krishna said to Uddhava here in Dwaraka, I'm not going to take you with me, I'm going to give you some service to do after I've gone. The service that I want you to do, you go all the way into the Himalayas, into Badrinath, go to the ashram of Narnarayan Rishi and all the other sages that are with them, and you give my association to them through these teachings that I've just given you. You be the carrier of those teachings, please. So Uddhava wanted to go with Krishna, but he didn't want to disobey some service that was given to him, so he started going. And when he was going and going and going, he met, of all people, Vidura. We're going to hear something further about Vidura. Anybody here not know who is Vidura? Not know who is Vidura. Okay. You know who is Krishna. Okay, good. It's a good start. And Krishna's father, Vasudeva and Devaki, father, mother. Krishna's father, Krishna's mother, Vasudeva and Devaki. And so they're part of this royal family, line of descent of kings in the ruling position, by birth and by quality also. So one of Krishna's dearmost friends was Arjuna. Arjuna had a father and a mother, like most people, father and mother. His father was Pandu, and Pandu had two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. The younger brother was named Vidura. Vidura, younger brother, wasn't going to become the king for other reasons also, but he was very wise, like super, super wise. Vidura. And Vidura went on pilgrimage. There was circumstance. He went on pilgrimage for a whole year, and as he was traveling and traveling and traveling and traveling, he found Uddhava. And when he saw Uddhava, because just like you see in this painting, Uddhava knows Krishna. So you see Uddhava, he even looked, the complexion of his body was similar, the features of his face and etc. very similar. He even looked like Krishna. And as soon as you see Uddhava, as soon as Vidura saw Uddhava, Uddhava, Haribol, how nice to see you. Where they met was in Vrindavan, by the side of the river Jamuna. What are you doing here in Vrindavan, by the side of the river Jamuna? Uddhava, how are Krishna and Balaram and Ugrasena and all the people in Dwarka? Tell me all about it. Uddhava was silent because Uddhava knew that Krishna had departed. He went into trance, samadhi. He lost external consciousness, but because Uddhava was like his uncle in age and respected, learned person, he wanted to serve him. So he struggled to come to external consciousness, and then he spoke a certain verse, a celebrated verse that's being referred to here in this, just above. It starts, Aho Bhakti Yam Sthana Kala Kutam, and it has to do with the merciful nature of Krishna who delivered Putana. Putana was the Baki. She was the sister of Bakasura. That's what the first line means. Aho, Bakiyam. Yo, the sister of Bakasura. Oh, Putana. How wonderful it is. Putana, the sister of Bakasura, wanted to kill Krishna by smearing deadly poison on her breasts and having Krishna take it. There's a little baby, like 3 months old baby, to breastfeed a little baby. She had mystic power. She appeared like a goddess from heaven. So the residents of Vrindavan backed off like, whoa, that she's a very opulent, beautiful, special personality. She went right into the bedchamber. Well, Krishna was in a little cradle, a little 3-month-old child. And her plan was to kill him. In the guise of being a mother, she had smeared very strong poison on her breast, so he would drink her breast milk, but he would die instantly. Nonetheless, Lord Krishna accepted her as his mother. And thus, she, the killer, Putana, attained the destination befitting Krishna's mother. What happened was, Krishna killed her, not she killed Krishna. When she died, the soul went to the spiritual world and assisted Mother Yasoda eternally as a nurse in the spiritual world. So she came to kill him, and Krishna delivered her and sent her back to Godhead. And so the conclusion is, of whom should I take shelter but Krishna, who is most merciful? So the headline across the top is, he understood Krishna's qualities, the merciful nature of unlimitedly, extremely merciful nature of Krishna. And so he, Uddhava, was taking shelter of him because of his qualities. Now I'm going to give a few other examples of persons that knew something about Krishna's qualities and therefore they surrendered to him. One of them is the florist named Sudama. Now the scene, this is a nice painting. The scene is Krishna was taken from Vrindavan by another person. His name was Akrura. Akrura. He was dispatched to go bring Krishna to Mathura from Vrindavan. So when he came, he met this florist. And the florist, he had just heard about the qualities and character and glories of Krishna. Just heard. He hadn't met him, just heard about him. So he, as a florist, he gathered the best of the flowers and kept this special garland to the side, waiting for Krishna to come. And when Krishna came, he was so happy. He didn't request any money or any bartering for the garland. He just gave it to him. Please take this garland. Because when Krishna said something to him, Krishna said, there's a verse in Sanskrit where Krishna said, if you would be so kind, kindly offer me here it comes the garland. Oh. Okay. This is our garland ritual. Go ahead. Come. Okay. Garland time. That wasn't planned, but I tell you. Okay. Krishna said, if you would be so kind, my cowherd boyfriends and I were entering Mathura, the big city, the capital, and we're from the village. If you would be so kind, kindly give us some flowers, some garlands that we can wear. And immediately the florist gave. Almost the very same Sanskrit phrase was used to a washerman. Almost the same phrase, same words, but the washerman was insulted. We're coming from the village. We're coming into the city. We should be dressed, as city boys. So please kindly give us some cloth that you're carrying. You're the washerman. You're carrying clothes. So please kindly, so I can decorate my cowherd boys with appropriate clothing. And the washerman was insulting. Get out of here. Don't you know these clothes belong to the king? And if the king found out, you'd lose your head. You're in big trouble. Get out of here. Very harsh, insulting. So he got a different consequence. But Sudama got the consequence of rendering service, and he was very, very happy. Now, it doesn't say specifically where his destination was after this life, but he received Krishna's mercy. And as Krishna entered further and further into the city, others did the same, having heard and just seeing his beauty and his character and everything. They made offerings right on the road. This is a Brahmana that's worshiping this little cowherd boy from the village because of his stature and his character and his presence. And one other person that met him before he got into the city itself was Kubja. Kubja was a hunchback lady. That's why her another name is Trivikra, because her body was bent in three places. Hunched over. And she had a daily routine. Every day she brought some sandalwood paste to the king. King Kamsa. But when she saw Krishna, whoa, I want to give this sandalwood paste to Krishna. So she approached Krishna and anointed his forehead with sandalwood paste, because in Vrindavan it can be, in Mathura, that part of the country, it can be very hot in the summer. So the statement is made because of this one. She had never done a pious act in her life before this. She's just a simple lady, doing service for the king, who was a demon. Simply by this one act, she attained the rare personal association of Krishna. Krishna said, later, I'll come back much later and I'll satisfy your desires. For the time being, he took the tips of his fingers under her chin, put his foot on her toes, and boop, the crooked kubja became straightened. And Prabhupada writes in his Krishna book that kubja is an expansion of Krishna's Bhu Shakti. A little explanation. What's Bhu Shakti? Bhu means earth, and Bhu Shakti is the potency of Mother Earth. You know, the potency of Mother Earth to grow things and to do what Mother Earth does so nicely. That's Bhu Shakti, that gives potency to just raw earth. So she, Kubja, was an expansion of that potency. And here's another Krishna book painting showing Krishna's putting his toe on her toe, putting his tips of his fingers under her chin, and straightening her, and her bad posture became very straight. And then we'll hear this evening what happened when he came back. So they spent the night in a little camp area, and when the morning came, they were going to, there's several things that happened in between. They were invited to attend a bow festival. There's details and details. The bow was the bow of Vishnu. Lord Parshuram gave the bow of Vishnu to Kamsa because he was able to string it, said, you keep it. But I want you to know, when somebody else is able to string that bow, that other somebody else is going to kill you. So Krishna strung the bow and broke the bow. Now he knew, Kamsa knew, uh-oh, my death is coming. He had a plan. He had several plans. One of those several plans was a big, humongous elephant that was made intoxicated with some kind of intoxication. And the plan was to have the elephant controllers with their the elephant prongs, to have him charge Krishna and smash Krishna. And when he saw Krishna, he was wild. He started making all this elephant noises. And the elephant trainers were pushing him, the guy riding on the back. So what did Krishna do? He came charging Krishna. Very simple. He grabbed a hold of his trunk and yanked really hard on his trunk, and he went crashing to the ground. No, it's a big elephant. He's a little boy, but Krishna's all powerful. And he went in between his two legs. And then after he went in between his two legs, he climbed up on top of his head and broke off one of the elephant tusks and smashed him on the head with the elephant tusk, and smashed him and smashed him and smashed him. There you see down below there's Balaram with his plow, just in case Krishna needed some help. And after one tusk was broken, he broke off the other tusk, and then he gave one tusk to Balaram, bloodied on one end, and he took the other one, bloodied on the other end, and off they went into the wrestling arena, because the plan, if the elephant failed to kill him, then the plan was the wrestlers would kill him. So there's these really powerful guys, like big, powerful guys. And they had three brothers. You see those three brothers in the background? And the two brothers were paired off against Krishna and Balaram. And there's a very nice BBH painting. Look on the upper right. That's King Kamsa staring vigilantly to see what's going to happen, because these are powerful guys. little boys. So there's details and details. Balaram got a good wrestling hold on one of them. Chandra and Mushtaka are their names. The three brothers, you can see them in the background. This is an even closer image. There's perspiration on the wrestler's head, and Krishna smashed him and thrashed him to the ground. The other three wrestlers came, and Krishna and Balaram dealt with them. And then Krishna jumped up and grabbed a hold of Kamsa, and he dragged Kamsa down to the same wrestling arena, and with his fist raised, he smashed Kamsa, because Kamsa was a bad guy. He had killed many people. The bad fellow. So this is a close-up. There's Balaram leaning on that tusk, just, seeing the fun. The people in the audience wanting to have Kamsa killed. And one blow of his right fist, Kamsa was killed by Krishna right before the audience. The audience weren't really sure. Was he really dead? So Krishna grabbed him by the hair and dragged him before all the assembly, and they threw flowers and honored Krishna. The wicked king is dead. Yay. And the very next thing that Krishna did, he went to the prison where his mother and father were in prison, Vasudeva and Devaki, and released them from prison. Now there's mother and father. So he's releasing mother and father from prison. They were very grateful. And then they did their motherly and fatherly thing. Two things, young boys from administrative families or Kshatriya families, they're supposed to have some rituals done, and then go to school. So the name-giving ceremony was done by the priest, Gargamuni, and then off he went to school, because he's almost 11 years old, and he hadn't even gone to school yet. So it was decided that he would go to the school of Sandipani Muni, who's pictured here. Sandipani Muni lived in a different part of India. There was details and details of why he was chosen, but vastly learned, and many other students in his school. But Krishna and Balaram chose him, and here's a nice image of their teacher teaching them. And as we mentioned this yesterday, remember how many days he was in school? 64. Because there are 64 categories of teachings within the Vedas that a good guru, teacher, will teach their students. Krishna learned everything in 64 days. One of the things that they learned from him was how to be a king, because he's the son of a military man or a Kshatriya. So he and Balaram, they were trained in Dhanur Ved, which is a section of the Vedas dealing with combat. So at that time, bows, like Arjuna had bows. Dhanur means bow. He was trained by the guru. And when they learned everything, as is tradition, the student comes before the teacher and offers some dakshina, or a gift, a contribution. There's no fee, there's no tuition fees, but they make some gift. So what would you like as a gift? And the guru understood, Sandipani Muni understood, these boys aren't ordinary. So I'm going to ask them for something that's not ordinary. Could you please, my son disappeared when he was a little boy. Could you find him and bring him back? And they said, sure. Where do we start? He heard, the guru heard, Sandipani Muni heard, that he was taken to the ocean and drowned. So they went to the ocean, shore, at Prabhas, which is very near to where their school was. And they requested the Samudra, who's the ocean personified, pictured here, to come forward and please return there's our teacher's son. He said, I can't return your teacher's son because your teacher's son was taken by a demon. And the demon's name was Panchajanya. Panchajanya had some mystic powers, and he moved about in the sea with a body that looked like a conch shell. Here's a drawing of a conch shell. And he traveled in the water in the form of a conch shell. And he, this Panchajanya, abducted the son of your teacher. So Krishna went deep, deep, deep into the ocean, found Panchajanya, had a battle with Panchajanya, demanded that the child be given back. There was a battle. Krishna won. He looked inside the conch shell in the palace, and there was no son. So he was then advised that he was taken to the abode of Yamaraj. You've heard of Yamaraj? No. You heard of death. He's the Lord of death. So Krishna went to there's a place in the structure of the universe called Samyapuri, and he went there, Samyamani, and he blew his conch, this Panchajanya conch, boo, and Yamaraj came forward. Yes, what can I do for you? You may have in your custody here somewhere the son of my teacher. Could you return to me the son of my teacher? This is Yamaraj. He rides a bull. And he said, sure. So he returned the son to Krishna and Balaram. Krishna and Balaram went back and gave the son to his teacher. Now the description is that the son hadn't aged. He was still kind of tiny, young boy. But he recognized the young boy, and the young boy immediately recognized his mother, and they were very, very happy. Like, that was a miracle. Brought your son back from death, from the abode of death. So then Krishna said, is there anything else that we can do for you as dakshin, or your gift for your educating us? He said, just having students like you, that's the greatest gift. No, nothing more is required. Now, as you may recall, this happened in chapter 43 of the 10th canto. Much later, this is a painting of Devaki. Too many names, right? Devaki was Krishna's mother. He had a mother. Their name was Devaki. Before Krishna was born, six of her sons were killed by that wicked fellow named Kamsa. So she, the mother, said, I heard you brought back from death the sons of your teacher. Could you bring back my 6 sons? He said, sure. So what did he do? He went to a different place. He went to, it's details and details. He went to the abode of Bali Maharaj, again in the lower region of the universe. And when he came before Bali Maharaj, he was very happy. Oh, Krishna, what brings you here? I'd like the 6 sons of my mother. Can you give them to me? Sure. And see, they still look very young. And Krishna had gotten bigger, but the sons were same young age. And there's Mother Devaki, very happy to be with her 6 sons. Count them, 6. And there's the father looking over her shoulder. That's the father Vasudeva. So mission fulfilled. Now, after Krishna completed school, where did he go? He went back home. And where's home? Where his mother and father are. That's what's home. And his mother and father lived in the capital of Mathura. So all this is like new stuff to you too, so, but that's okay. It's nice. You just hear Krishna's name so many times. That alone is nice. So Krishna had been away from Vrindavan now for a couple of years. And he knew that the residents of Vrindavan were feeling so much separation from him when he left Vrindavan to go to Mathura at the invitation of Kamsa to participate in the festival. So he, Krishna, had his friend, remember his name again, Uddhava? Uddhava was the one that was with Krishna for so many years and was holding on to Krishna's feet in Dwarka. That same Uddhava. Krishna said, Uddhava, I'm going to write a letter, and you be my messenger and deliver the letter to the residents of Vrindavan to tell them very soon. I made you a promise I would come back, and I'll come back. Not just now, but very soon. So Uddhava was the message carrier, like, postal carrier. And Uddhava went here and there. He went to see Nanda and Jasoda, the elders, and then he went to see the gopis. So there he is. That's Uddhava on the lower left, looking like Krishna in color and complexion. And he's delivering the message to the gopis, and from Krishna to them. And they're in different ecstatic moods, some of them falling on the ground, some of them crying, some of them this, some of them that. They've gone mad out of loving separation from Krishna, and hearing about Krishna has reawakened all those loving emotions in different kinds of loving emotions, except for one that she's pictured on the front. That's Radharani. You know who's Radharani? Radha Krishna. Radha and Krishna. Krishna and Radha. They go together. Energy, that's Radha. Energetic, is Krishna. Like sun and sunshine. They're always together. You don't find sunshine without a sun. You don't find a sun without sunshine. You don't find Krishna without Radha. You don't find Radha without Krishna. She's his counterpart, his energy, female energy. And you look closely in the painting, you see in the back, there's Uddhava sitting, reading this letter to the other gopis. But Radharani, she has gone mad. She can't even hear these words. Krishna, you left us. You went to the city, and you're with so many beautiful girls in the city. You're like a bumblebee that goes from flower to flower and taking the honey from this flower and honey from that flower, and you don't really care about us. You care about the honey, that's you. So she was speaking bad things about Krishna. In love. Now, the same banner across the top, due to knowing about Krishna's qualities, the resident of Vrindavan loved Krishna, his teacher loved Krishna, and so many other persons. So the florist loved Krishna, and so many personalities. Kubja, we'll hear a little bit more about Kubja in a moment. Another person is this very same individual that brought Krishna to Mathura from Vrindavan. that's the fellow that's pictured here. He took the royal chariot, and when he went to Vrindavan to find Krishna, he saw the footprints of Krishna in the soft sand. He got off the chariot and started rolling on the ground, rolling in the dust of Vrindavan, touching the feet, the footprints of Krishna in ecstasy. So this is the same section being spoken about by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami in Benares. You saw that painting or photograph before. Lord Krishna is very kind to his devotees. He is always very grateful and magnanimous, and he possesses all abilities. A learned man does not give up Krishna to worship anyone else. So these are qualities of Krishna. Knowing the qualities of Krishna, one worships Krishna. And here's a statement made by this fellow you see in the painting. That's Akrura, where he writes, or he says, "My dear Lord, you are very affectionate," because when Krishna came back to Mathura, one of the persons he visited was Akrura, because he was living in Mathura. His Krishna's devotee, as you see in the painting. So he went to visit him, and Akrura is expressing these words. "My dear Lord, you are very affectionate to your devotees. You are also a truthful and grateful friend. Where is that learned man who would give you up and surrender to someone else? You fulfill all the desires of your devotees, so much so that sometimes you give yourself to them. Still, you neither increase nor decrease by such activities." It's truths about the quality of Krishna, the loving nature of Krishna, the kindness of Krishna, the truthfulness of Krishna, the gratefulness of Krishna, the charity of Krishna. And as he gives, he doesn't diminish by his giving. Hearing all these nice words and many others, Krishna then spoke to Akrura, "You're a saint, and you're a purifier of the sinful." So now let us remember when Krishna was entering from Vrindavan into Dwarka, and he came across this lady, the hunchback lady, that was carrying sandalwood for the king. He had promised, "I'll come back." So he came back and met her. And when he met her, she prepared herself to meet Krishna very nicely, and he satisfied her desires. This is now in Mathura. And Krishna stayed in Mathura for some 35 years. And the time came when he knew it was the time for him to marry Rukmini. Another name, oh boy. Rukmini. But she's a good name to remember. Rukmini was a princess. She was the daughter of a king. The king's name was Bhishmaka, and Bhishmaka, Rukmini had heard, because he was a king, and Krishna's father was also in a royal family, and she heard about Krishna and heard about Krishna, heard about Krishna so many times from so many persons that she decided, this is a person that's suited for me to marry. According to the scriptures, she was an expansion of the goddess of fortune. Goddess of fortune means Lakshmi, the consort of Lord Narayan. In the spiritual world, Rukmini is her expansion. Our Jiva Goswami writes, she's a plenary expansion of Radharani. No, you were introduced to Radharani a moment ago. An expansion of Radharani, which is saying essentially the same thing. So she decides she's going to write a letter, "Dear Krishna, rescue me." They have there's an idea that my Swayamvar ceremony will be coming soon, and I'd like you to come and kidnap me. She's a princess. She knows how to do stuff. And she gave a detailed, here's how to do it. Here's when to come. Come with your chariot at this particular time. And she was hoping to see him. So here comes a messenger carrying the message back from Krishna. Yes, I'll come. So now she knew Krishna's going to come. And sure enough, at the right time, riding his royal chariot, Krishna took Rukmini by the hand, put her on the back of his chariot, and zoom, 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 off he goes. In a very chivalrous way, in a way that was kind of done in a common way for a Kshatriya to kidnap a princess. And off they go. And when they went off, everyone in the vicinity, they wanted to stop Krishna, but there's no way they could stop Krishna because he's the personality of Godhead. A battle, guess who won? Krishna won. And all the others were defeated. And some very nice paintings. And the decision was made. You see people in the horses riding behind him. They're pursuing. They want to capture Krishna and let him have it. But Krishna defeated them. And if finally a decision was made, they should come back to this capital city and have a big wedding right here in the capital city. So that's what happened. There's Rukmini giving the wedding garland. Krishna standing on a little platform. All these rituals were being done. And they were married. This was Krishna's first wife in Dwarka. No, she knew, she surrendered because she heard of Krishna's qualities again and again and again, and understood that this is a suitable person for me to marry. So there are different kinds of relationships. Akrura wanted to serve Krishna in one way. Uddhava wanted to serve Krishna in another way. Rukmini wanted to serve Krishna in another way. Sandipani Muni wanted to serve Krishna in another way. But they're all in the mood of wanting to serve because of this surrender, impetus for surrender topic. And we're going to end a little abruptly, but there's the same ideas are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. I hope you've heard of Bhagavad Gita. There's the cover of Bhagavad Gita. There's Krishna blowing out his conch shell. And there's next to him, that's Arjuna blowing out his conch shell at the beginning of a battle. And by understanding Krishna's position, correctly understanding Krishna's position, there's impetus to surrender to Krishna. I want to surrender to Krishna because he's the supreme person. So here's a verse from 7th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanam ante, Krishna says, after many, many births, one may surrender to Krishna, knowing who he is. Or two other verses from chapter 10 Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 10 Bhagavad Gita is opulences of the absolute. Krishna's he's going to describe things about himself, and hearing and understanding things about himself, there's an impetus for people to surrender once they understand his position. These two verses, text 10:7 and text 10:8, these are part of four essential verses in the whole of Bhagavad Gita that summarize the essence of Bhagavad Gita without the detail because of time. They're announcing, Krishna is announcing who he is and what his position is in the totality of everything. He's the source of everything. Who can say that? Krishna can say that because he's the source of everything. We may be the source of something. I was told, and when we came here 10 years ago, this was just fields. And somebody came along and said, hey, let's have a shebang. They got some money together and got some architects together and some builders together, materials together. They built the thing. But where'd they get the materials? Where'd they get the intelligence? Where'd they get anything? The ability, the resources. See, from the source of everything. There's one source of everything. Somebody built this thing. And there's somebody built that somebody. And the source of all somebodies and all things, that's Krishna's position. That's what he's saying in Bhagavad Gita. And one who understands his position, it's pretty simple. Engage in his service, and all same as these six, circling back to where we started, there's 6 principles of surrender. I'll be maintained. I'll be protected. He's my best friend. And let me give everything to him and do things that are favorable and reject things unfavorable. Those are the 6. Just from understanding his position. It's easy. It's very natural. We say it opposite. Not doing so is very unnatural. It's a diseased condition. It's called material existence. It's a diseased condition. So that's it. Impetus for surrender. We'll go through the little list again. Starting with humility. Impetus for surrender. Recognizing there isn't another shelter available in this realm. Let me take shelter of the spiritual realm. By hearing, a third is hearing from great souls. Satam prasangan mama virya samvidho. Kapila Dev teaching to his mother. Lord Chaitanya teaching to Sanatana Goswami, even in the most advanced stages, not just how to begin, but in the most advanced stages, the association of those that know Krishna and love Krishna is most valuable. It's essential. It's how bhakti begins and how bhakti continues and becomes perfect. And then finally, hearing and getting some understanding about Krishna's qualities. So he gave examples from stories of Krishna's pastimes. But like Sandipani Muni, he's a teacher. He had students, and he understood you aren't just students. You're exceptional persons. Could you do a miracle? Can you bring back my son from death? Sure. And he did. By understanding, then is there something more that we can do for you? Having students like you, that's perfection of my life. Nothing more needed, thank you. So by understanding the position and the qualities and the character through association or through direct experience. And kumja, this little offering of a little sandalwood paste. She got Krishna's association. He straightened her. Didn't have to go to a chiropractor or anything. Boop. Impetus for surrender. Because you two are are on the newer side, you don't have the experience that the rest of us have. What to speak of? I've been practicing Krishna Bhakti for over 50 years. That's a long time to do something. How old are you? No, this is the owner of our house here. 50. Okay, you got a few more to go to catch up to me. And how can you do something for 55 years? Actually, now it's 56 years. How can you do something so steadily? There's something there. Otherwise, you do something else. So, although these are histories, not just stories, but histories, they illustrate points, and the points is what's on the screen. There's an impetus for surrender, and knowing these qualities of Krishna and the merciful nature of Krishna, like Akura said, you're truthful, you're generous, you're the dearmost friend. You can't have a better friend than Krishna. Okay. Impetus for surrender. And that was our topic for this visit. I'm going to ask your son a quiz question. Do you know the concluding message of the entire Bhagavad Gita? It starts Sarva Dharmam Parityajya. Aham Tom. Very good. So that verse is speaking about surrender. Mamekam Sharanam. Sharanam means surrender. So that's Krishna's. That's our topic for this visit: is surrender to Krishna. Impetus for surrender to Krishna. And when one surrenders to Krishna, then the bell rings. That's it. Everything is accomplished. When you have $1 million, you have $10 and $100 and $1,000 and $10,000. It's all in the $1 million. So here's your $1 million. Just surrender to Krishna. Gee, thanks. Everything's there. Everything is there. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. We have a portable microphone in case you want to ask a question or hear some discussion on a topic. Yeah.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for the wonderful class, the presentation, the pictures, like the many stories you explained briefly, but it was so heart moving. One question I had was about the Kupcha. Is there anything mentioned about her past life?
Well, we heard from the scripture, particularly from Jiva Goswami, she's a partial expansion of Bhudevi. There's some mention in Garga Samhita that says other than that, but Garga Samhita doesn't have the same weight. And so I've got some misinformation. If you want to hear it, I can tell you. But is a partial expansion of Bhu Shakti, the potency of the earth, to yield what the earth yields. That's what Bhu Shakti does. And she's a partial expansion. So that's previous life. Yes.
Can we say that like surrender can be also loyalty? Because let's say a husband and a wife, parent and kids, they are loyal to the parent and they accept it blindly sometime what the husband or father is saying to the kid. Can we say also it's part of like very loyal to Krishna?
It's part of the what?
Like instead of use the word surrender, can we say loyal, very loyal
Yeah,
to Krishna?
you can say. But they're different features of the same act, different aspects of the same function. Surrender has these, these six. Krishna is my dearmost friend. Krishna is my maintainer. Krishna is my protector. So loyalty plus Atma Nivedana. It gives self-surrender, everything. So there's an overlap. They're not identical.
Is, for example, sometimes we question many things. Okay.
Sometimes you
We
question,
question many things in life.
oh yeah,
But then, if you surrender to Krishna in a way, very loyal to the scriptures, you say, okay, if Krishna wanted to be like that, it's like that. That's it. Finish.
I may not understand in the moment, but I trust Krishna. And so whatever Krishna's got up his sleeve, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. For example, also trying to understand the scriptures, which is very vast.
Phew. Yeah.
I think our brain is not enough to understand. Or even the universe is very complex to understand.
Yes.
Then instead of wasting time of trying to understand universe, then just serve Krishna in a way.
Yeah. Makes life simple.
Yes.
Now, Scripture is there for guidance. Krishna is there for, Scripture is there for giving us an understanding of the glories of the source of everything and verification of, but the verification by experience is even better than the text. And when one takes up a lifestyle that's in accord with the Scripture, then the knowledge comes, the realization comes. But then it's reconfirmed by the Scripture. So that's how we live our life.
I take my mother, for example. She can't read, but she knows Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. That's it. She doesn't want to question what, this and this and that, but she's accept everything in a way blindly. This is what I've seen. Since I know her, she's like that. Like normally, like the more educated we become, sometimes.
No,
we
be careful.
question.
Be careful.
No, education mean I'm not trying to say.
If that's not what real education is, though. Real education, real knowledge, it's chapter 13 Bhagavad Gita.
No, I'm
Matter,
talking about
spirit, the
material-
controller, both. That's real knowledge. Anything else is ignorance.
Yeah, material education.
Yeah, modern education. Prabhupada likes this. This is a nice, for those of you that don't know. Gaur Kishore, Bhaktisiddhanta was like super elevated, learned person without examples. He was super learned. When he was a teenager, he was the most celebrated astrologer in all of India. And he gave it up because it's not useful. And so forth. He accepted as his Diksha guru someone who couldn't even write his name. Prabhupada said. I mean, we often hear Gorkishore Babaji was literate, but couldn't even write his name. He couldn't even write his name. But he knew the conclusions of the scriptures without reading the scriptures. So, erudition isn't it can be an asset, it can be a detriment also. And the real asset is, as you were saying, implicit trust in the supreme source of everything. Okay. You have something? Okay. Give to this young man.
So Maharaj, my question was, so how like modern scientists say like the dinosaurs and everything, how would that like exactly like match up with this Krishna consciousness timeline? Like how does it like is the way the scientists like do it false? Is it like because
Let me ask you, has any scientist seen a dinosaur?
no
No.
Maharaj.
Prabhupada's answer to this question is dinosaur, phinosaur. Now, having said that, he also spoke of fish so big they could swallow a whale, timigal fish. So if there were such creatures, if there were, your question is how does it fit with the Vedic picture of things? If there were such living entities as dinosaurs, Krishna is the source, just like any other species. And for some reason, if there were dinosaurs like this and that and the other thing, their source is the same as the source of everything else.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Where did giraffes come from, and where did rhinoceros come from, and where did little microscopic microbes come from? From the same source as everything. Okay, she's got a question. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
I have relating to the impetus for surrender. Is that can that also be worded as a responsibility
Yes.
to surrender?
Yeah. Well, but yes and no. How's that for a good answer? Yes, but I can be responsible and not know, what's my elbow and what's my knee. I don't know if I don't know what's what. I can be responsible, but I don't know how to put one thing together with the other thing for a purposeful life. I can be responsible. Once upon a time we were all kids, and and my parents would tell me, and I felt I'm a responsible little boy, but I didn't know what's what, and they didn't either. But I was responsible, and to a certain level virtuous. It wasn't naughty and all those good things. Didn't talk too much and just did my homework and good stuff. Responsible. But I didn't know what's what. So I made some mistakes because I didn't know what's what. I could have lived my whole life that way if I hadn't come across somebody who knew what's what. For starters. Like we're spiritual entities. We're not bodies. We have a body, but it's not me. So you're equating being responsible with impetus, and yes, provided there's connection with something real, or someone that knows what reality is.
Thank you. To follow up that, I find there's a difference between responsibility and accountability. And if Krishna can forgive us or help us forgive ourselves.
Yeah, both.
Can there be a forgiveness of that accountability of feeling accountable?
Yeah. And then what? Once that forgiveness is there, then what happens next? Meaning, Seeking forgiveness means I made a boo-boo,
Uh-huh.
and I'd like to be pardoned for that mistake that I made. Then now what? Then you know what's right as opposed to not knowing what's right,
Mhm.
and you do what's right. You act in knowledge.
Mhm.
That's what's next. So then, I'm not. I can be excused, but then act in knowledge. So, and that's easier said than done.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Back to this. No, wait. Okay. But back to this topic of responsibility. Responsibility is once I know that I do that which is the right thing to do. That's responsible. When I didn't know, I was being responsible, but I didn't even know what being responsible was. I didn't know what was right. I wasn't being bad, but I didn't know what was right. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
um,
You're on a roll. Go for it.
Krishna is responsible for in the universe.
Well, he's the father.
Yeah.
So fathers are responsible for their kids, but kids do dumb stuff sometimes. And is he responsible for their dumb stuff? He'll may bang them on the side of the head and say, excuse me, but you're gonna this activity of ignorance, you stuck your hand in fire, and the fire isn't going to excuse you because you didn't know that fire burns, because laws of nature are there. So you may burn, but it's not out of cruelty, because the father doesn't burn their son out of cruelty, but there's laws of nature. What's to be done, what's not to be done. You violate what's not to be done, and you get some pain, or some punishment, some reprimand. Okay. You want to go further with it? Go ahead. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah.
If we are made in Krishna's image,
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
or we possess the qualities, right?
Yes.
We're
But
somewhat-
tiny qualities, but tiny quantity.
Yes, quantity, exactly. So the quantity of each quality we possess,
Yeah.
is it proportional to the same like proportion that Krishna has?
No. That's 3 no's.
It's many no's. So to that degree, am I more or less responsible?
Yes. You're responsible for your choices. Not somebody else, not Krishna is responsible. He may sanction, taking the life of another living entity, like goes on in this world all the time with, eatables. So taking the life of another living entity, that's a choice. You don't have to, but if you do, then you're responsible. Krishna's not responsible, but the laws of nature hold you responsible. No, does that address your question or no? Not exactly.
Not exactly, but I like that. My question or my wonder is more so about like that the mirroring of how, if I am created in
God's image.
God's image, then do my qualities also mirror that of,
Yes.
of God
Quantitatively tiny.
quantitatively?
Qualitatively same.
Okay. I can live with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's over here. You're patient.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. My question is, could you give simple steps, like when we live in daily life and facing uncertainty, when you are attached to results, then anxiety comes. How to detach from results.
Piece of cake. Piece of cake. The principle is a piece of cake. Doing so may be like eating sawdust. But the piece of cake is attachment to eternal, detachment from the temporary. And if you're not attached to the eternal, you're going to be attached to the temporary. So your question was how to go through life when there's turmoil because you're attached to the temporary. What to do? Attached to the eternal. And that's what yoga is. And there are different types of yoga and stages of yoga and all that stuff. That's what Bhagavad Gita is. That's Bhagavad Gita. It's a treatise on systems of yoga. And teaches you how to make that connection so that there can be detachment. While living in the temporary, I'm not attached to the temporary. I'm doing stuff, but without attachment to the stuff. Then you're going to suffer.
How to step by step get detached from that?
By practice of yoga. It depends on, there's a very simple, and then there's something that's more difficult, and it takes longer. Different people like different things. So, for example, the conclusion, this young fellow gave the verse, that the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, all the things that I've taught you so far, leave them to the side, and just one thing. What's the one thing? Ma mekam sharanam. That's our topic. Just sharanam means surrender to me. Take shelter of me. Now, supposing, no, you got something else? Okay, here's something else, and you can do this. Well, okay, then you can do something little. You can go down and down and down, then up and up and up. So there's something that can help. It can help. It's like it's something like trying to ignite a fire. If you have wet wood, it's going to take a while. Like a lot of smoke, and it's going to take a little while. But eventually, the wet wood becomes dry wood and can ignite. Then you got fire. So supposing somebody's really attached. There's some people are really attached. Maybe you're somewhat attached, not as attached as a madman. Really attached. So it'll take a while. But what to do in the interim depends on your propensity. Some people, there's a nice verse in chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita. You sacrifice objects. That's a certain kind of yajna or sacrifice. Sacrifice of knowledge, sacrifice of yoga, sacrifice of work, karma yoga. And then you do, but you offer the results to the Supreme. You continue to do because I'm attached to doing. I like to do.
So if we are attached to activity, then gradually by offering results to Krishna, we can get rid of the attachment to the...
That's it. That's karma yoga. That's chapter 3 Bhagavad Gita. And then again, chapter 5 Bhagavad Gita. So it's like gradations. And then there's, where does it go after that? There's systems. I could outline the principles of yoga. That's it. That would take a little while. But detachment is made possible by attachment to the Supreme. Detachment from the temporary is attachment to Sat, or eternal. And that's yoga. That's the meaning of yoga. Some people like, the exercise part, hatha yoga. And then pranayama, that's another, it does something to the mind. Make one mind at least temporarily more peaceful. So you can concentrate on higher subject matters instead of being distracted. So that there's systems within, and subsets of those systems that help become attached to the eternal. And automatically, it's like like he turned the light switch down. You turn the light switch back up, and the room is all lit. When the light's on, darkness is dispelled. When you're attached to the eternal, you're detached from the temporary. Darkness is dispelled by light. It's very simple. So yoga is to connect with the light, connect with transcendence, connect with the eternal. That's what yoga is. In different stages. And why do people like it? Because it feels good. At least from the body, and then from the mind, and then sometimes go a little bit beyond to the intelligence, and sometimes even beyond to the soul. But it's little by little, making wet wood into dry wood, so you can have a fire.
Thank you.
Little by little. Find a good teacher. And bhakti is the best of all systems of yoga. You'll find that statement in Bhagavad Gita. And find a good teacher, and you practice bhakti yoga, and slowly. Attachment to Krishna equals detachment from non-Krishna, or suffering. Mm. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So, in the process of surrender, we need sadhu sangha. But I have a tendency for dosha darshan always and not glorifying the devotees. How to overcome that?
How to overcome fault finding?
Yeah.
I'm thinking in real practical terms. Just like, leaving his house, he pointed out there's a little step down to go from his porch to the, where the car is. And so if you don't notice it, and you trip and fall and trip and fall and trip and fall, that enough times you're going to pay attention when you step down from the porch to the pavement area. So if you have a tendency to do like that, you're on guard. Knowledge, we don't like to suffer. And when you engage in some activity like fault finding, they don't suffer, we suffer. Yeah. And so there's teachings and a teacher, and then there's the direct experience. I don't necessarily trip and fall, but to stumble at least, going from the porch down to the pavement area. And it's like awkward. I don't like that. I don't want to do it properly. So then I do it properly. So as you're approaching the edge of the porch, so when you're going through life and you find yourself in a situation that prompts you to be a fault finder, this is what Bhaktisiddhanta recommends. Besides, that's painful, I don't want to do that. Introspect. Here's a teaching from a good teacher. One who finds fault in others is only disclosing that their own heart is honeycombed with that very fault. Meaning, if somebody's heart is not honeycombed, but the heart is pure, they're not going to see and fault find. They can see what's what, but they're not going to look at that and look at that. Not only that, here's another one. Rah, rah, rah. Because my heart is like that. But when one's heart is pure, you can see what's what, but you don't fault find. You find a way to assist that person to go higher and higher and higher. And when they go higher and higher, that fault's going to disappear. When the light's on, darkness is dispelled. So you can ask yourself, what can I do for this person or in my relationship with this person that can help them come up? I see that they're struggling like I am. I also have faults. And I'm struggling because of those faults. And I wish somebody would pick me up. So what can I do to help this other person? You know, it's easier said than done, but that's what to do. To render service. That's an act of kindness, and kindness creates overcoming of faults. At least potentially, more so than saying, aha. That doesn't help you, it doesn't help them. Yes.
There's one question online, Maharaj.
Okay, this is our last question too.
From Tripti Narayan Prabhu. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Does the understanding that Krishna is my maintainer mean that one need not make endeavors for survival? Or as it's Krishna who maintains? Or does it mean that one endeavors to that results are rewarded by Krishna as a maintainer?
Well, I'm not sure what you spoke real fast. That Krishna is my maintainer. It's not like I sip lemonade in a hammock and take it easy, because Krishna's going to maintain me. That's not that. But when I do something that's in the direction of maintenance, I'm not supplying. There's a supplier. I'm working, and then there's the proprietor for whom I'm working. He's the proprietor. You know, a verse that Prabhupada quoted over and over and over and over. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yo vedadati kaman. It's a Vedic statement. The one, eka, is maintaining the many. So I do my activities. I go to work. I do my prescribed duties. But it's not my prescribed duties are maintaining me. That's Maya. There's an employer. There's a maintainer. There's a person in charge that edibles come from, and and water comes from, and air comes from. And he's maintaining me, and I'm serving him. I don't sit back. Okay, take care of me. Thank you. But he's maintaining me, and therefore, let me serve him. It's an impetus for service, same as this impetus for surrender. I'm going to end. Thank you all for somehow finding your way to this difficult to find place. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.